Welcome to Flip Lesson 100! That means we're almost near the end. Today we want to look at the idea of simplifying decimals. And what we really want to see is, sometimes when you get an answer or you find a product or whatever it is, you end up with zeros in the problem. And the question we want to ask today is, are those zeros needed? Do we really need them in the problem? Or can we eliminate them? And by eliminating them, really, it just becomes like we're hiding them because they're not significant at that time to understand that number. For example, we look at the number 0.14500. As you look at this number right here, the question would say, is what of the different digits that you see are digits that we need to have to understand this number? Well, we definitely need that decimal number there, and that 1 holds a value, and the 4 holds a value, and the 5 holds a value, so we'll definitely need those. But what about all these zeros? Do we need all these zeros? If we look at this zero to start, this is probably a good zero to have because it helps us understand that the 0 represents the 1's place, and then we have our decimal number, so that one's good. But as we look at these two zeros over here, we realize that those two zeros really don't add value. And because of that, we can say, well, technically we don't need to see those zeros in our number. And so normally when we write a number like this, we would just write it just like this, 0.145. Now let's take a look at the one on the right. As we look at the one on the right, we see, okay, I have a decimal number, 1, that definitely holds value, 4, that definitely holds value, 5, that definitely holds value. Right? We want that 1 0 before the decimal just to help us understand that we're dealing with a decimal number. But what about this 0 right here? Is that 0 important? And this time we would say yes. Yes, it is, right? Because it holds a special place value. And if we didn't have that 0 right here, right, it would be very easy to say, okay, well, I'll just have a number, and you end up moving the 4 over, so the 4 goes right here, and 5. And that would change our value of our number. So this idea would not be good. We need this 0. This 0 is very important to this number. Right. Sometimes we can look at numbers in different ways, and we can start to say, okay, where are the zeros important and where are they not important? Right? I look at this number and say, okay, I don't need a 0 in front of my 130. So I can just write my 130, right, in decimal. However, this 0 right here, that one's pretty important. That helps us understand the place value there. Now looking at my numbers behind here, do I need any of those? Well, I definitely need the 1. And to secure my place value, I need the 2 zeros in front of it. However, I don't need the 1 behind it. And finally, I can look at this last example. It says 130.00. Well, which do I need? You might get an answer like this, and the fact is you don't really need these zeros here. Just writing 130 are enough to understand this answer and get that down. So understanding when zeros are important and when they aren't. Okay? Sometimes we can see it once we start doing the work, right? So if we add these two decimal numbers together, 5 plus 5 gives us, right, 0 goes down, 1 goes up. 1 plus 4 is 5 plus 5. 0 goes down, 1 goes up. Decimal goes straight down. 9, that's a 0, a 1, add them together, and we get a 6. And so we're left with this answer. Now the big question is how much of this answer do we really need in our, before we just circle it, right? Do we need to circle the whole thing, or can we write what is actually valuable? And as we look at this, we realize that this 0 and this 0 don't really need to be there. And so we could just write our answer like that as a 60. Same can happen in subtraction. Right? 5 minus 5 is 0. 4 minus 3 is 1. Decimal goes straight down. 9 minus 6 is 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. And so I have this nice answer, but as I'm looking at my answer, I'm realizing that, oh, this 0 really doesn't hold any value in this, so I don't need it. All right, here's some sample problems. That's the lesson. Kind of a quick ending there. All right. Lesson 100.